So by now, people have figured out that a lot of entertainment is staged or fake. We knew that when we shifted from just music videos into reality, quote unquote, reality television. That's trickled up or down that motif into politics. And so now we're beginning to realize that a lot of what we see in our leadership, in our elite classes, is also staged or fake or pre-planned somehow. And why is that? It's marketing. In order to convince people to invest or to come to a particular place, you have to market that place. And sometimes, it's a lot easier to stage or market a lie or an exaggeration than the truth itself. So that's what's going on. When you look back at the United States, you try to figure out what's happening, that's what's going on. So at the same time that the so-called elites are relying more and more on AI and staging and so on, what's happening is on the other side, the quote-unquote conservative side, they start to look a little bit more appealing. Let's just do a quick example. You've got on the AI side, you've got them, essentially using music samples in order to recreate songs. In many cases, some corporation buys an album, samples the song, and then essentially deletes the licensing for the older songs, so you can't even find it. So one example would be Natalie Imbruglia. When she came out with the famous hit Torn, well, that's a copy. It's not necessarily a copy, but it's a sample. And so there's no way that somebody would have been able to find that out when the album or the song was released. And it's a one-hit wonder. Why do you have so many one-hit wonders? Again, you're trying to distract people, and you're trying to hide essentially the sort of metamorphosis that's involved in moving away from a society that's based on authenticity, which of course makes people crave it, authenticity even more. So on the one side, you've got a lot of these people, the public, just a general public that's not part of the elites, that's not part of Hollywood or marketing houses in Tokyo, Paris, London, and so on. They're starting to realize that a lot of what they see is not based on actual talent. It's based on a very slick marketing machine. And London's got a bit of an advantage, right? Because it took from all over the world. So when it does market, it actually has some sort of basis for its quote-unquote propaganda. But the newer countries, the United States and so on, they don't necessarily really have that, Tokyo and so on. And so a lot of it is staged. You look at a lot of these Japanese game shows, they're sort of sadistic. And you wonder why that is. And again, you're trying to up the level so that you capture people's attention and distract them from the fact that a lot of these people that are creating these mellifluous melodies are actually just simply, copying somebody. So why do you have something in Japan that's so strange? Well, if in fact you're not able to have something that's creative on the reality television side, you have to sort of invent something that's more and more strange. And in some cases that devolves into sadism. That's kind of interesting because, Japan does have on the anime side something really unique with Studio Ghibli. And it's had that for quite some time. It's built on that for quite some time. And, you look at the kind of work that had to go into a Studio Ghibli to get to where we are today. That's authenticity. That's why it's so good. It's just sort of incrementally building upon a foundation of authenticity. So you have that on the quote-unquote elite side. Sometimes it works out, right? But on the other hand, right, you've got, say, you can compare that to, sort of WWE fake wrestling, and it starts to look more and more authentic, right? It's also staged, right? But it's a little bit more overt. The problem is that you sort of more easily identify with, say, a Hulk Hogan than a Kamala Harris, right? Or a J.D. Vance, right? Elite people, so on and so forth. Because, it's something that you can see. It's visually appealing. Right? Having a Hulk Hogan do something fun is visually appealing. And even though there's probably some HGH or steroid use, again, just because you take steroids doesn't mean you get muscles. You have to work for it. So you still have to put in the work. And so it starts to look more and more like the elites just aren't putting in the work. They're simply they've created this AI technology that is allowing, what you might think would be the dream, right? So having a machine do the work for you. The problem is that unless that technology is available for everybody, to make all of their lives more simple, then you're really just dealing with leadership that is staged. And the real problem with that, right, is as people's lives, what they see on media becomes more and more staged, they crave more authenticity. They crave it at any cost. And so that's where you go back into, something that's more visually appealing that you still have to work for. It might still be staged, but you have to work for it. And so people are now probably going to be geared towards Donald Trump simply because of the fact that he represents authenticity, even though it's at a significant cost. So people are going to wonder, why is it that Donald Trump, got 50% of the vote or 49% of the vote? Again, look at the other side. And, you're going to see that it's not really something that people want, because humanity's source code craves authenticity. And it's what's helped us survive for so long, being able to look at somebody's work and say, wow, that person has talent. I want to learn from this person. But if that person that's on television doesn't really have that talent, they're just copying, they're sampling, and they're just sort of a mouthpiece for somebody else or a machine, humanity's source code rebels against that at any cost, because it's not only, first of all, it's not something you can copy, right, if you don't have the same tools. So when you're really looking for a role model, you're looking for somebody that you want to aspire to become. And you can become Donald Trump, right? That's not that, difficult in terms of, the personality, the authenticity. And so, overall, you're looking at this sort of, really interesting paradigm, and that really, really is starting to crave authenticity at any cost whatsoever. And the problem is that the same AI that is creating this fake world, the fake talent, right, the fake images, that's the same thing that's apparently going to save us from a war. Because, if war is going to become automated, that's going to rely on machine learning and automated weapons. So suddenly, for the first time in humanity's history, the same tools that are used for protection are going to be the ones used to create a fake world of inauthenticity. And what do we do when that happens? Do we have an answer?